Welcome to ReWild My Bio, a self-help and alternative health podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Slade. Join me as I share stories, science, and strategies to help you rewild your biology and redefine your biography. Hello and welcome to another episode of ReWild My Bio. We're here today to talk about the benefits of merino wool. What is it and why you shouldn't head into the backcountry or your next afternoon hike without it. Honestly, I believe that it is important to have the right tools when we're out in nature if we want to be in nature, right? If we want to experience the benefits of nature, we want to commune with nature. If we want to connect with nature, we have to be comfortable. Research shows it, or tells us rather, that in order for us to feel, those stress reduction benefits of nature, we need to be in a comfortable environment. So I think having the right clothes is super important. I hear it all the time with participants in my research, and they're saying that, one of the reasons that keeps them away from connecting with nature in the forest setting is, here in Canada anyways, is those winter months where it's cold, right? So a lot of people getting cold, heading indoors, and I often hear this specifically amongst women. So this episode, shout out to all the women out there who are listening. I believe learning about how to properly layer merino wool and have base layers and having the right clothing will allow everyone out there, regardless of your gender, to enjoy the benefits of nature and, again, interacting and cultivating that relationship with nature. So having the right clothing system is a must, in my opinion. Our ancestors, native cultures around the world, they've been able to thrive in the elements for centuries because they had clothing that allowed them to do so. Now today, I believe we're far removed from, where our ancestors or where our clothing, comes from. We're far removed from the process of making clothing. I think it's an amazing activity for one to get into if you're into a rewilding or more naturalist lifestyle, is getting into sewing, learning how to sew, learning how to knit, how to make your own leathers and things like that. It's something that on the leather side of things, I've been getting into more. The idea of making moccasins or mucklucks or something like that really interests me, other than like pouches and leathers and things that I've made, previously. I think, we've obviously all heard of sweatshops and child labor used to make most clothing, and things that are considered to be high fashion in the Western world, right? So I think it's a super important topic. Today's topic is anyways, on many levels, not just for your comfort. And we're going to talk about comfort, and some style and some of these newer products that are out there today and, my experience with them. And, so I'll give a little kind of product review here at the end, but I hope, to share some things that I've learned from, basically swearing by this stuff, at least for the last 5 years since I've discovered it. And, it's really revolutionizing the way I think people are heading into the elements. Because again, I think one of the most important tips I was given back when I did my hunting safety course or my, to get my certification or what have you, was spend some money on high quality gear. Don't worry about the big fancy rifles and all this and that. Get the right gear, because if you can't be in the elements for a long period of time, you're not going to be able to, again, in this sense, hunt, right, and stay in the elements. So, singing the praises of merino wool today. But first, before I begin today's show, and I'll start with a story about, again, how merino wools allowed me to, I'll share a story about my spiritual experience during my vision quest. And, if it wasn't for merino wool on that experience, I don't know if I would have been able to endure certain aspects of the elements. Again, before I do that, I want to touch on one company that's come across my radar here in recent days, or in weeks rather, and that is this company called Get Lambs. Now, Get Lambs is a clothing company that has created EMF reduction clothing, essentially, by adding silver into the lining of the stitch or what have you. And honestly, it's an amazing product. I've been looking into different EMF protection clothing and products for a long time now, but I've yet to dive into buying one or like saying, hey, this one's legit. Because again, trying things out is a big thing for me before I were to say, hey, this works, right? So what I find neat about this company here is that, one, they're big on the science end of things. So they're, I'm just looking here at their website, and it's their specific fabric technology. It blocks external stressors from impacting your body, or so they say. And by doing so, it's reducing associated effects of, say, like oxidative stress. It's supposed to increase your HRV and support your immune system. So I could see that in the sense of, blocking EMFs. But and they actually have studies about the increasing HRV, which is something I'm going to, as I've chatted with these individuals. So anyways, I have some clothing coming. I'm going to try this on, and I'm going to report back to you guys. Now, like I said, this company, they don't use merino wool. They're using cotton. Though it's an amazing technology, and I'm excited to try it out. I feel like it's the stuff to wear when in the city, or when maybe sitting at your computer and you're indoors or something like that, surrounded by EMF. I really do like I got nothing against cotton, but when it comes to indoor use, or say in the city, let's say, where you're not looking to brave the elements, but I do believe, as we're going to talk about in a second here, wearing cotton has no place in any type of your layering system when you're in the outdoors. If you're going to be potentially sweating, or you're going to be, temperatures are going to vary where you could be getting hot and cold. And that's for a whole host of reasons. Again, we'll chat about in a minute. But do check out getlambs.com if you haven't already. I'm sure you heard of them. I know I have through listening to other podcasts, and a lot of people I respect in the world of podcasting seem to, enjoy wearing these products. So I really do. I'm excited to try them on, and do check it out yourself. And again, though they don't use, I think maybe if we can get the founder on the show, maybe we can chat about possibilities of them using merino wool. I'd love to actually have that extra. I think of being up north on my land and being far away from all things cell service, because I don't get a good cell service, though the whole community is so keen. It reminds me of so many times when you travel to other countries where these technologies aren't there, and the locals, everyone's looking to grab hold of technology, right? It's just this elephant in the room. It's this thing that I'm moving up there to get away from, but everybody's looking to put towers up everywhere, right? So who knows? Maybe I'll have the need to wear more EMF protection clothing up north. But again, to have something like that with merino wool rather than cotton, say, with the silver built into it with that technology, I think the antimicrobial benefits be doubled, and a whole lot of benefits. So again, looking forward to chatting more about EMF protection clothing in a future episode. And before we dive right into today's show, I guess we'll call this an intro. I actually do want to go through a bit of a formal advertisement, if you will, for Bioptimizers, which, if you've been listening to the show for a little while anyways, you know that I've become an affiliate with Bioptimizers. So what that means is that I'm going to be having them as sponsors here of this podcast, which I'm super grateful for at this point in the podcast, to have some support with my studies been going, my PhD studies been going overtime, so to speak. Funds are getting low, especially when building a house and planning this, nature school and what have you. It's amazing to have support like this, and to have other people like Get Lambs reach out, and I guess just a lot of other things in that regard. So I really want to, before we get into today's show, say that I have been using these products for almost a year now, I guess, not officially a full year, since I had Wade Lightheart on the podcast. I believe it was April of last year, so I guess it's been a year. And it was big for me before getting into any type of sponsorships to actually use these products and see that they work. And I will say this stuff is for real. It's legit. Products specifically, actually, let's do this together. I've got a box today. If you follow me along on Instagram, I just posted me basically opening this box, and I want to do a giveaway. How to do this giveaway, I don't know. I've never done one before. So if you have any suggestions on how I should do this giveaway, that is, let me know. You can email me, Shawn at rewildmybio.com, if you haven't done that before. So let me grab this box and check this out. What do we got? A whole lot of stuff. So And there's some new products here that I haven't tried. So let's go through things I have tried and things that I really do like. And Magnesium Breakthrough. It is truly, again, with testing things on the Oura Ring and getting magnesiums that are available to the body and things that you'll need and things that also aren't going to react that are in other magnesium products. I find Magnesium Breakthrough is the bee's knees, so to speak. And that one is, again, a blend of various magnesiums. I won't read labels. Moving on. Cognibiotics, as I grab from the box. Amazing product. Mood enhancing indeed. I love anything in the idea of like digestive support, probiotics, prebiotics, and anything else that's going to help concentration or focus, right? So any blend like this, which obviously keen and interested in making myself through herbal medicine and herbal tincture form right now. But this Cognibiotics, I tell you, it has done the trick for me. New things in the box. Let's go to new things. And again, I'll get off this here in a second, but there's a couple Gluten Guardian. Now that one I have used in the past. Actually, this is one of the first products I'm going to segue back into products I have used. So Gluten Guardian. I will say that it has helped me in the past when I have been glutinous, but living a healthy lifestyle. If you're just constantly shoving gluten down your throat and you're taking Gluten Guardian, it's not going to work for you. But there was times where I was, clean on the gluten front. And if I were to have pizza or pasta or things like that, and I really want to enjoy a meal, Gluten Guardian would come out and I'd feel a lot better. On that same front is P3 Ohm. That's another great product as far as if you're out and you're, say, traveling and you need something, a probiotic that's going to kind of help keep your immune system well in a position to fight things off. I find P3 Ohm is something that you can take on the road really, really well. So new things here. There's Biome Breakthrough that I've got. I've got Blood Sugar Breakthrough, which actually I could probably use right now. So things like that. But I am going to be doing a giveaway of a lot of these products here. And so again, stay tuned to, I guess, Instagram on how that's going to go down, because I think I'm probably just going to give stuff away there. So call that an advertisement. I'm going to look into getting Wade Lightheart potentially here on the show again to talk about, I think, Magnesium Breakthrough and a few other of these products, if he's out there. Fellow Canadian and Black Fly enthusiast, Wade Lightheart, All Things Optimal Health podcast. I really do love this company. I do love this product, and I love this opportunity they've given me to be part of their affiliate team. So thank you to you guys. And do check them out. It's you head over to Bioptimizers.com. I'll leave it in the show notes. /ReWild My Bio. Use ReWild My Bio at checkout, and you receive 10% and you support the show. So thanks very much to anybody out there who's been buying products from them. Geez, that was a long and rambly intro, I guess you'd call it. I'm rusty on the record button, and I didn't acknowledge that prior, but I'm really excited to be here putting out this podcast specifically because I hope that it benefits you in the sense of, practical skills based. This isn't just that mental masturbation stuff that we sometimes do here on the show. This is legit practical help. Like, I'm thinking back to that roadkill episode where it's like, I'm going to record an episode on what the heck to do if you come across fresh roadkill or roadkill that's not fresh, how to determine if it's fresh. And that episode is out there. And I put that out there, and I think that these are fun. These are fun to do. And merino wool, I started writing a blog about this. And then I thought, geez, there's so much here. And I just wanted, and again, getting in contact with the folks from Get Lambs, it just preempted me to kind of brush up on the benefits of merino wool, and put that together, disseminate that to the listeners. So if you find this beneficial, let me know. If this type of episode interests you more so than the mental masturbation stuff, let me know. Want to make you happy if you're listening. So without further ado, I said I would tell a story. My biography, right? And I think that if it wasn't for merino wool, I would not have been able to endure the elements in such a way where I was able to I guess being able to control my body temperature and my comfort level to some degree by having not only merino wool, but a really warm sleeping bag. So I should maybe back up and set the stage a little bit. My vision quest, that was 4 days, 4 nights, fasting from all things familiar. So I only had water during this time. And I was in a 10 by 10 space in the lower Bruce Peninsula area, up near, like, say, Tobermory or the Bruce area of Ontario. And temperatures, it was end of April, early May, temperatures got down to zero for a good, like, almost like 36-hour period overnight, and a little bit of snow. So those who were facilitating the quest were obviously concerned for our well-being, and they did everything they could. They actually brought everyone a liter mason jar of, like, a maple syrup, lemon, water, a little bit of salt concoction to kind of keep energy up for folks. I opted not to drink that, and I actually just used that because it was warm when they gave it to us. I used that. I put that into my layers of merino wool clothing, and so I mean, call it cheating in a sense. But I also didn't want to break the fast. I felt like I didn't need to break the fast. Actually, on the last day, I took a sip of it because I guess it's the last day, almost 96 hours, 4 days into it, and sipped at the concoction, said I didn't want anymore. But putting that into layer upon layer of different types of merino wool based on the elements. So in this case, I was basically wearing what I would wear if I was sitting in a late season white-tailed deer hunt here in Ontario, Canada. So cold weather gear, right? Had everything, plus a minus 30 sleeping bag within my tarp that was also out there. And so that said, putting this little heater into my merino wool, I'd pull that out by nighttime and it would still kind of be warm, right? And merino wool in that time, I'm thinking of other questers that were out there. They were leaving the quest, right? So that right there was, for me, like, talk about putting this stuff to the ultimate test. It kept me, like, comfortable. I knew of its properties, so obviously, like, kind of creating this, whatever, called, not placebo effect, but realistically, I've been out in nature in different gear before this merino wool time. I'm thinking of mountain hiking, Peru, British Columbia, where merino wool wasn't part of my system, and getting cold, getting the chills, all that stuff. So, let's get into, I think, first, like, what is merino wool? So merino wool is wool from the merino sheep. So merino sheep were originally from Spain, and they've been kind of placed throughout the world: New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Chile, all things even in South Africa as well. And these sheep do well in these types of terrains, and specifically nowadays, a lot of the products that use merino wool come from New Zealand and Australia, and that is because, like, these sheeps, they thrive there. There's a lot of open high country, right, with feed being spread out throughout the country, right? So we've all seen, like, I'm picturing, like, Lord of the Rings, right, and all those, like, crevices and hills and rolling hills, and just thinking of all the microclimates and how well the grasses and the feed is out there, and there's no predators, right? And these things are just allowed to roam out there. So obviously, they're doing great. They're living up to their biological expectation, and with food being spread out all over the place, these are animals that love to just walk, and so they're out there in the elements, and I think that's why they do really well here, or why they do well there in New Zealand. Now, I've never been to New Zealand, but we've all seen pictures, and I've done my research. Is, well, one thing, thinking of hunting out there is just, again, amazing. Like, thinking of these places where these some sheep have been introduced and they've gone wild, and there's so many different species out there that do really well. And again, it's partly because they have no predators. So these active grazers, they like to have a little bit of food here, a little bit of food there, a little bit of food everywhere. And when they were breaking sheep into New Zealand, they were the ideal animal to survive in those conditions, because in New Zealand, I think of much like Canada in a sense. They have, hot, dry summers, and the merino wool have this ability to, deal with the dryness and the heat. Then at the same time, this animal has this beautiful, thick, heavy, yet fine fleece, which means they're also very good in the winter. And being, that they have this beautiful, super fine fleece, they're fantastically insulated in cold temperatures, and things like minus 10 degrees Celsius and even minus 20 degrees for some time, for a short period of time, right? So this wool really is amazing for humans to wear, obviously. Well, for many reasons, which we'll get into, but I can tell you, if you have the right thickness or blend, it can get you through almost anything the elements can throw at you. And if you have ever worn merino wool, you'd probably even just like a thin layer, you know how much it can do for warmth, even if you just have like one base layer. Because again, this stuff's not necessarily the cheapest all the time, but well worth the investment, right? Because for many reasons, lasts longer, washing less, like you're washing this garment less, so it's lasting longer. It's moisture wicking, it's breathable. And it isn't that itchy old school wool that you might be thinking about. I've said this to a lot of people. Oh yeah, merino wool. And no, I don't like wool. I get itchy. It's like, I've never heard of anybody finding merino wool itchy. If that's you, or if you know why, you get itchy from wool, hit me up. I don't exactly know. I know it has something to do, I guess, with the coarseness. It's the coarseness of the fiber, and again, merino wool being that super soft, fine fibers, it's not as coarse or thick, so it's really comfortable against your skin, basically, and it's again really good at keeping moisture away from the body, and it keeps you cool when it's warm outside and keeps you warm when it's cold outside. So honestly, it's this magical fiber, and I absolutely love it, and it's totally sustainable too, and that's the greatest thing, because you think of these animals out there living their biological expectation, eating grass, pooping, recycling nutrients, sequestering carbon into the earth, and these animals are out there, and all you're doing is shaving off this wool, and cycling that in times of the year that allow them to be free of wool. And I think it's just amazing the way it beats cotton any day, in a sense of sustainability. One, because you're thinking of big cotton monocultures, monocropped and what have you, and with merino wool, it's this cyclical process. To me, it reminds me of wood for heat, and the cyclical process that, if done correctly, that we've been doing correctly, humans have been doing correctly for centuries. If we could continue doing that, we could really clothe people in an amazing, sustainable way. So I think before we get into the benefits of merino wool, now that we know what it is, I want to say why cotton kind of sucks. Why cotton kills, more so, honestly. And that's a bold statement, but I mean that. Cotton kills. We might love cotton. It's this comfortable fabric, it's the fabric of our lives, but it doesn't love us when it comes to surviving in the outdoors. So honestly, I feel like you think of cotton, it's in everything, bed sheets, t-shirts. We're looking for organic cotton, right? And it's soft, it's warm, it's familiar, it's comforting. There's always, jeans that are, I think of jeans, right? I enjoy jeans in the outdoors. If I'm working around the home or in the garden, I really do enjoy jeans. So, but again, when I'm looking to interact with nature, cotton is just nowhere on my body anymore, ever again. And I just highly recommend anybody out there, if you're looking to get into outdoor activities, look at the label and see if it says cotton. And if it says cotton, don't buy it. If you're looking to lounge around and not have to interact with the environment, a little cotton in there isn't going to be the worst thing. But when it comes to like getting up and going for that evening hike, and it's uphill, it just see what it does. See the difference of how that sweat removes from your body when you're wearing cotton and when you are wearing something like merino wool. It's honestly, it's easy enough to tell that cotton just isn't cutting it. And why? It's like, again, things like hypothermia. Your normal body temperature is around 98.6 Fahrenheit. I know I'm jumping across back and forth from Celsius to Fahrenheit, but I'm a man from Southern Ontario, so I have tendency to do that. But hypothermia is a dangerous condition in which your body falls below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which I believe, I can do the conversion quick at least, it's somewhere around 35 Celsius. So if your body temperature is falling below 95 Fahrenheit or 35 Celsius, that is dangerous. And as your core temperature falls, you start to shiver, and as your body tries to create heat through muscle movement, blood vessels might start to constrict. And, this is all in an effort to retain heat within your body. So shivering is actually a very important warning sign. And if your temperature continues to fall, you'll find it harder, to basically, you'll basically find it harder to think clear. And you won't really realize that you're in a very serious situation when you're shivering that much. You'll say, no, I'm fine. And once that shivering starts, that's when you should really immediately just take action to get warm. As soon as you start shivering, if it worsens, that's when you're in big trouble, because you can't really stop that unless you have like a fire or, again, something that actually can warm your body. What will happen is actually you'll start to feel tired, and you'll think, sit down and rest, like, oh, I'm tired, so I'm just gonna sit down and rest. And that's actually worse, because your body's gonna obviously lose more heat, right? So this is where you kind of get clumsy and lose control of your motor skills. And if it goes untreated, you'll just, your body will just basically completely shut down, and you could pass out or what have you. And so that's one negative thing about having cotton, is because of that inability for it to remove moisture from your body, and it just holds moisture in. So that material is going to get very wet. Heat loss is another reason why cotton kills. Your body loses heat through various ways when you're out in nature, right? So we've created energy through food, sunlight, breath work, other practices that give us energy, not just food, but we have energy. And so, through being throughout the day, we're losing that heat. So conduction is heat loss through basically direct contact. For example, like sitting on a cold ground or leaning against a cold rock. Without anything insulating your body from these cold surfaces, you're going to lose heat in some regard, right? So any part of your skin that's not covered up, if the air is colder than your body temperature, convection is similar. But instead of, say, like loss occurring due to contact of an object, like I said, it's just the air moving around you. So that's essentially convection, like an oven. But your body's usually surrounded by a thin layer of air that is warmed by your body. So sort of like, it's like this, think of like an invisible kind of aura or insulation of air is around you, right? Breezy, windy conditions basically pierce through that little microclimate that your body's making, right? The heat that your body's emanating from you. They rip that away from you. And so again, people with certain, like, I'm thinking of like certain Ayurvedic doshas, for example, don't do very well in windy conditions. So if you're one who should stay away from the wind because it knocks the life out of you, I think having merino wool for someone like that is a great idea, because again, in covering your body in that when you're out indoors. So again, kind of knowing your profiles is a whole nother thing that, regardless of your profile though, wearing merino wool, super important stuff. So I've said it already, and I guess I'll say it again, is the moisture wicking capability of cotton is just not good. Not good at all. In fact, it's, I'd say the most important thing with cotton is that it doesn't evaporate well. Moisture within cotton just does not seem to want to evaporate it. It holds on to that, and that's because if you think about it, cotton coming from a plant, it's going to want to hold on to water, right? Whereas a merino wool, for example, the body itself is holding on to moisture. The hair is this protective layer between the merino sheep, and the elements. And again, I don't want to, I'm not shitting on cotton in any way, shape, or form, because cotton has wonderful absorption properties, and that's why we use it. Cotton towels and in the kitchen, in the bathroom. And, they work great for soaking up water. And so, again, having a little cotton towel, for example, not a bad thing. I'm just saying that as far as it comes to on your body, the longer your cotton hoodie stays wet on your back, the longer it's going to take. It's going to keep removing basically heat from your body, right? Just because it's not, again, the water's not evaporating out of it. So the same thing applies, to jeans when they get soaked from the rain. If you ever wear wet jeans, right, they get cold. Cotton holds on to moisture, honestly, like a magnet. So what are the benefits of wearing merino wool? Well, I've got a few here for you. I've got 7, in fact, benefits of wearing merino wool. The first one that I want to talk about is the smell factor. So if you're into hunting, you know the importance of minimizing odor when you're in the field, in the forest, and there's no better fabric out there at keeping your body odor to a minimum than wool. So wool actually absorbs, I'm saying that wool absorbs 30% of its weight in moisture. That's what I'm trying to say. This passes through the material and evaporates instead of remaining on the skin. So as I mentioned, cotton kind of holding onto that. Wool actually absorbs some of its weight in moisture, but again, that moves through and it does not remain on your skin where it would if you're wearing cotton. So that's one really important factor, and that's, I'd say, one huge benefit of it. So again, with that whole smell is the fact that you don't have to wash it as much, right? So, and I mean, I'd say wash it as much as, say, like nylon. So nylon absorbs around like 4.5-5% of moisture, and polyester is just less than that, right? So these synthetic fabrics, moisture remains on the skin, potential for hypothermia, and the fabric creates, prime environment for bacteria growth on the skin surface. So that's, again, where you're getting the human odor from. So this antibacterial property of the merino wool, honestly, I'd say in regards to the smell factor, it's a great thing because, yeah, again, not having to wash it as often, you're not using as much water. It's got like a natural coating. And this is, I always think of the movie Anchorman, and lanolin, like sheep's wool, right? So this lanolin prevents bacteria from spreading. So it's got like a lanolin coating around the actual fiber itself. So this lanolin is that antibacterial property that you often hear about when it comes to merino wool. The other big benefit, and it's around the moisture wicking. So as I just mentioned, wool absorbs 30% of its weight in moisture, but sweat is essentially moved away from your body where it can quickly evaporate. So you're never clammy, that clammy feeling, regardless of if hypothermia is an issue. I just think, again, try being, go out there and do your exercise, your natural movement, what have you, with your yoga, anything with, instead of doing the calling out Lululemon here, but instead of the Lululemons, try a thin merino base layer, and just seeing how that feels in the yoga. I'm just thinking of like hot yoga, especially, right? Something I haven't done in years, but definitely, switch to the merino wool for sure. So we've talked about the antimicrobial properties, the antibacterial properties, the moisture wicking, the smell on that front. We haven't really chatted about the breathability of this fabric. And I think that's, on the other end of the spectrum, what I find is neat is that your body heat will actually pass through this, these natural fibers, and cool air is allowed to flow through, right? So not only can it keep us warm, as I'll mention here about the insulating factors in a minute, but the breathability, I think it's just so amazing that, we can wear these fibers from an animal that has been, has evolved to deal with this fluctuation in temperatures throughout the seasons. And by sustainably harvesting that, we are able to wear this, this one garment, right? So thinking of just buying one garment and keeping it, washing it less, keeping it in good quality for when we're going out. It's, again, we're connecting a little bit closer to where so again, the choice of which garments to buy and which companies to align with, it becomes more important. And I think just we're connecting with that process of where our clothing comes from. So the insulating factor is amazing because you can take these thin fibers of fleece and you can make thick layers, different layers, different, thicknesses for almost any situation. So whether it is, January in a cold region, or summertime, there's different thicknesses. So people often think like, oh well, this doesn't make sense. How does it work? You can wear these products out there. They're making different thicknesses that are allowing for the right system. So again, my early season whitetail system and my late season whitetail clothing are oftentimes different because again, I don't want to wear a lot of layers because that's actually reducing the amount of air. Say you're wearing a bunch of tight base layers, that's not necessarily the best thing. You do want a little bit of air between those things. So you ideally want to wear as little layers as possible, but make sure those layers are keeping you warm and doing their purpose, right? So, and that's, again, I'm mentioning whitetail systems, so I'm talking about hunting, but the other things, two other benefits. One is the fact that there's no shine to this wool. So again, if you are hunting and you're looking at, blocking that kind of shimmer or shine that a lot of clothing sometimes has, that's one benefit of it. Wool, the way this works is that wool absorbs UV radiation through the entire UV spectrum. So unlike some synthetics out there, and other, naturally occurring fibers, like again, cotton, Merino doesn't have that shine and it doesn't have that light reflection. So this, again, like I mentioned, it helps hunters. But again, that ability to kind of absorb UV, it has that UV protection quality as well. So that's another great benefit. So say you are into fishing, it's summertime, having some type of long sleeve merino wool is going to protect you from the sun's UV rays. So the other thing is that there's no sound. So again, wearing wool rather than like other synthetics, it's inherently quiet, right? You think of sheep being animals, that predators are after throughout evolution. So obviously, as they've evolved to make sure they are quiet when they're out there, and wool doesn't necessarily like flap in the wind, or it doesn't shear, when you walk, or crackle when it's cold, that type of stuff. And that's just it. You need that low micron fibers in the yarns that are made out of, longer filaments of this fiber. And that essentially that helps reduce any type of noise. So again, products are being made in this day that like this stuff is just really, it's for being in the outdoors. And I think it's great for so many reasons. The last reason, and again, I'm just thinking like, if you are going to wear this stuff in the city, I was saying, before, it's like cotton, yeah, sure, in the city, other things, wear what you like to wear. But it is soft. It is super soft. Again, I already mentioned that it's not that itchy type of fibers that make you all itchy. Some people say, like, certain companies, Smart Wool, I've heard people say that they don't like that feeling on their skin. But for the most part, like, it is very, very soft on your skin. If you've ever, again, like many products out there, I'll chat about them in a second, but soft. And then the other thing is on that front is that it's wrinkle resistant. So if you are looking to keep it fresh and clean in a city or the urban environment, then you can, wear this stuff, or you can throw it in your suitcase if you're traveling. There are companies out there, again, that making a little more like on the professional side of things with merino wool now. I haven't worn any, but I do think, the wrinkle resistant aspect is just yet another benefit. So if I've made a believer out of you, if you've listened this far, then you probably want to know, where do you find some merino wool? I've got two companies that I feel confident in sharing right now here on the podcast because I wear them. It's part of, again, my system, as I keep using that word. And one company is First Light. They make gear specifically for hunting in all things camouflage, have other colors as well. But that's one. And again, I keep using that word system, and that's because if you look at their website, they have different systems for different times of the year, for different, whitetail hunting, western hunting, tree stand hunting, different camo patterns. And so again, they've basically, the way they kind of brought together their whole line of products has helped me kind of look at merino wool in this way as like, this very functional tool. Something that I think, again, pricey products, but when we're investing in things that we know are going to get us tons of use, like I've bought this stuff years ago and I add to it every year, again, being expensive, but at this point, 5 years in, and I feel like, if the grid were to go down and it was mid-February, again, as I mentioned, merino wool sheep, they're not lasting much longer out of minus 20 degrees Celsius, but I've put this stuff to the test at, freezing temperatures with snow, sleeping outside with no food. And this whole, again, a lot of it being First Light, the other company being Smart Wool, which are, again, pioneers in the merino wool game. Smart Wool, I use them for my base layers often. And again, with First Light stuff, but amazing products and something you can find anywhere. Again, not cheap, but I think I'm happy to kind of, plug those two, leave them in the show notes. You can find them there. But other than that, like, I'm excited to see where this merino wool industry kind of goes right now. It's something I was keen on looking into in the beginning, but the clothing game just isn't for me. But I do think, again, if there's anybody out there who knows of companies, say, that are blending these EMF protection, like, technologies, the silver in the fabric with merino wool, I think that's a genius thing. So yeah, if anybody knows of any companies out there doing that right now, I'd be happy to, share that as well here in the show notes or what have you. But other than that, yeah, singing the praises, merino wool all the time. If you enjoyed this episode, if you found it useful, please share it with a friend. I hope, it's been a long time since I've hit record here on the podcast, so thank you for listening. And please sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done that already. And again, share this with as many people as possible if you found it beneficial, because that was the kind of goal here today, was to record something fun, get something out there, and share something that I think is somewhat necessary if we're looking to connect in nature and simply be in nature. I know sometimes in the cold, getting out, here in the spring now, if, it's cold out, it kind of keeps me away from doing some type of morning practice outside in those early hours. But if I have the right gear on, I know I can go out there and I can endure or handle whatever the elements are throwing my way. So again, I hope this episode allows you some practical skills that allow you to, simply endure the elements when you're out there. No matter what Mother Nature is throwing at you, you're allowed to, just take it in and just be in the element, be human. No human doing, no to-do list. You're sitting there, you're just being at one, feeling that expansive sense of self, that nature connected self. So I hope that is what you get from this podcast. Again, if you like it, share it with another person. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay wild. Thanks for listening to this episode of ReWild My Bio. Please leave a rating and review, as this helps others find the show and helps me make the show better. Thanks to today's sponsors, and thank you to the listeners who support the show through using the discount codes and, of course, sharing the podcast with their friends. If you want more nature connection and rewilding content, please sign up for my newsletter by visiting www.rewildmybio.com or follow me on social media. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay wild.